Hello everybody, as promised, this is my TED Talk. This is Colleen Talk. So I wanted to share with you something that I've been sharing with my classes, and I love this component of parenting, and it's specific to helping children deal with disappointments. So I originally came across the work of Gordon Neufeld, who talked about the stages of disappointment. Children are in an experience, being young, that they often don't get what they want every day. So it's actually a great opportunity for children to learn how to move through something rather than get stuck in something. And it's our job as parents not to save them from bad experiences, but to help them move through it. So the stages that kids will go through, you might recognize, and when I pull them out, there's the stage of denial is the first stage. So say a child doesn't want to go to bed and you're saying it's time to go to bed. And they say things like, no, it's not bedtime. I'm not going to go to bed. So that's what denial looks like. I'm in complete denial of reality, of the way things are happening is not the way I want things to be happening. So let me just pretend it's not happening. So you'll hear kids say things like, this is not happening, and yes, I am going to stay up longer. And so that's the first stage of denial, and the first stage of disappointment. And then comes another stage, and this is called anger. So then you might hear your child say things really mean, and they may say, I don't like you, or you're mean, or go away from me, or I love daddy and I don't love you anymore, or I love mommy and I don't love daddy. Whoever is the one holding the line gets usually thrown under the bus. They may call you names and just be really, really hurtful. It's just they've flipped out. They're not operating from their prefrontal cortex, the good thinking part of the brain. They're operating from the middle of the brain, the limbic system, where the emotions are housed. And remember, the emotions part of this brain cannot operate at the same time that good thinking happens. So that's why they're just in the flip out mode of emotions and spewing. They're not thinking about the consequences that may come with what they're saying. They're not thinking about how this will hurt you. They're not open to hearing any information. They're just in shutdown mode and spewing their upset. And then they might move on to this phase called bargaining. So when they get to the bargaining stage, they are working at trying to figure out a way to get what they want. So denying it didn't work, yelling at you didn't work, so now they may just beg. Please, please, just this once, I promise I won't ask again. Or why, but why? I stayed up late last night, why can't I stay up late tonight? It's not fair, please, just this once. And if you're still saying no, then you might hear some more anger. Let's go back to anger. And then they might say, well, I just don't like you anymore. Or they may go back to denial again. I am gonna stay up later. So these are the three main phases when they're really, really upset that they kind of swing and move back and forth to. And once you just really hold the line and are clear that this is happening, they hit this stage. The wall of futility. And this means that the child realizes that there's nothing more I can do, there's nothing more I can say, my parent is not changing their mind, and they just like hit a wall. And so then the first three stages stop, and they move to this stage, depression. And depression can be as simple as their body just slumps. It could be as simple as, oh, okay. It could be that they just melt down. They fall on the floor and then they melt down and sob and just be really sad. And they may say things like, but I really want to stay up later. But they're not saying, I'm going to stay up later. Now they're just sort of recognizing, I'm not going to get up to stay up later and I'm sad about it. And so you might see some tears at this stage. And then eventually you get to this stage, acceptance. So after they've cried, they might get up, take a deep breath, They might say things like, fine, I'll go to bed, but I get to pick out the book though, and I get 3 books, you know. They try to find some way to, you know, still feel like they are in charge a little bit over their life. And you know what? Sure, we might be able to fit in 3 books if that's helping them move forward. But they're basically finding a way to accept what happened, and then they might even adapt to what happened. Okay, so I'm not going to get to stay up later. Well, okay, so then I'm going to read a few more books. Or, okay, well then maybe next weekend, can I stay up later on that night? You know, so then, and that might be negotiable by you. So if I don't know if you recognize the stages that I just went through: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. They're famously known as the stages of grief. DABDA is what they're called. And usually it's in reference to a great loss, like a death in the family, where you go into denial that this is happening, and then you're angry that it's happening, and then you almost bargain with the universe that please keep this from happening, and then you go through phases of depression, and then eventually you have to accept it and adapt and move on. So this is applicable even to small little things. Every time we don't get something that we want, we have to deal with the disappointment around that. And like I said, the lives of children are set up in a way where they face disappointment all the time. And it may feel like that they're not, but they are. Sometimes it feels like they're controlling us more than we're controlling them. But they're constantly denied things that they want because they want everything all the time at once, just because they're, you know, underdeveloped and ego-driven. So it's so important to help them move through all 5 phases. If they just are in the first 3, the anger, denial, anger, and bargaining, and then we decide that we can't take it anymore, that we decide it's hard for me because you're so sad and I feel like I'm responsible for your happiness, and it would make you so happy if I just say, okay, it's fine, let's just stay up later. And we keep doing that on a consistent basis. They never make it all the way to the end. They don't learn how to move through something that they didn't get and how to adapt. I don't know how many of you have thought about how important that skill is, but for me, it's tremendously important to know how to move through difficult things. And I think every opportunity that comes along for a child to learn how to move through it is great, that we don't want to deny them that opportunity. So let's see, what else do I want to say? So I don't think you have to be... I don't believe in absolute rigidity about everything. So don't think like, I can't change my mind. But I think for the most part, you need to be pretty consistent. But I think, you know, maybe every once in a while, it's okay to go, you know what, let me rethink this. Because who knows, sometimes we say no, and you're thinking, why am I saying no? This isn't something I need to say no for. So I do think it's fine every once in a while to go, you know what, let me rethink this. Actually, yeah, we could do that. I'm going to change my mind. But you can't do that all the time. So it's important to think about how things to keep you from caving, particularly those of you parents that fall under the noodle parenting. If you saw my other talk about the brick, clay, and noodle, and the noodle parenting tends to feel very responsible for children's happiness. And us as parents get happy when our kids are happy, which is a very difficult path to go down in the long run. We might think in the short run, this feels great, but in the long run, I'm sure you don't want to create a child who doesn't have any resilience and doesn't know how to deal with disappointment. That's probably not what your intention is. So if that's not your intention, then we need to get on board with helping them experience that facing a hard wall, a hard no, I'm capable, I can get through it, and they can actually. Sometime in life, they're going to experience disappointment. They may not get picked for the part in the play. They may not get picked first in the basketball game. They may not get the job they want. They may not get into the college they want. They may have a girlfriend or boyfriend break up with them, or a spouse break up with them, or they got fired. And like all kinds of things come our way. And the ability to be resilient and move through all those stages is a practice. So here's some things to help you out. By the way, I have a handout that I will be posting on Google Docs as well, so you can everything I'm saying is on here. So first off, as parents, it's important to keep your self calm, keep yourself operating from the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that's confident. You're the leader. You're not shaken from your perspective and your boundaries, and you're not getting angry. If you get angry, now you've jumped to the limbic system, and then if you do, which all of us do, you'll need to take some breaths, get a glass of water, get yourself back to a place of calm. So remaining calm and clear about your position, and just a statement. It is time for bed. You're just, period on the end of the sentence. It's bedtime. And not like, okay, it's time for bed, okay? Remember, we got to stay up late last night and we talked about this, that we weren't going to stay up again late tonight because it's a school night, and you're going on and on and on. You're losing your position of clear leadership if you're doing that. Just clearly state, no, honey, it is bedtime. Some other things is to not negotiate and get pulled into the bargaining. Many, many children are fabulous lawyers. I don't know if you've noticed this. And so you might get hooked into the bargaining. And they're like, well, what about this night or that night? And what about, and please, please, and why, and why? And so if you keep going into, well, let me think about it, or I don't know, well, starting to bargain, you're again losing your leadership position. So you can just simply say, no, honey, this isn't up for negotiation. Or no, there's no room for me to change my mind. Or I would used to say, I'm clear about my answer. I would say sometimes. And then it's also good to explain your position just once. Sometimes the kids will ask why. And so the famous, because I said so, I think can be really shut a child down and make them actually demand the why more. And so it's good to explain why, because it's a school night and we're going to get up early, or it's because you've had a busy day and your body needs sleep. But when they ask why again, it's fine to just say simply, I've already explained why, and head down the hallway. As long as they're having you engaged in the why, then they don't have to engage in moving forward with the task. So that's why they want to keep asking why and keep you engaged in that. So just explain it once, and as simple as you can without any kind of shame or blame attached to it. It's just, this is simply how it's playing out, and then move forward. So don't lecture, advise, or try to teach when your child is frustrated. That will get you nowhere. Remember, when they're calm and relaxed and operating from this part of the brain, they're able to have a dialogue and listen to you and take in information. But when they're upset, they are not. So it's not going to get you anywhere. So silence, saying as little as you need to, is really powerful. Silence with a smile is also really nice too. Listen to the feelings behind the words, especially when they're in the anger stage. So they may say hurtful words like, I hate you, or go away, or you're not my daddy anymore. So what's the feeling underneath that is usually frustration, anger, disappointment. And those are the things you will reframe. You will reframe their sentence using those feelings. Like, you are really mad at me. You're disappointed by my answer. I understand. So I'm not going to get all caught up in like, why would you say that to me after all I did this for you today? I went here and I took you there and I made you dinner and you're going to call me those names. Now you're operating from down here. You're not in a position of leadership anymore. And so now you're all caught up in not helping them get to the adaptation. Remember, that's our goal. What else? Refrain from rationalizing them out of their feelings. Lovingly accept their emotions with empathetic, loving sounds. Sometimes you can just go, oh, honey. And just, confident, calm. They're just going to be spewing, rolling around. You can just say, I'm sorry, this is hard for you. And just, you're just empathizing. Like, I get that you're feeling this, and it doesn't bother me that you're having bad feelings. It's not my responsibility to make you happy. But I'm still going to be present and loving and understand that life is hard for you right now. And find a moment later, this is my favorite part, when they actually made it all the way through, finally got to sleep, and then the next night or the next day or after breakfast or whatever, sometime later when it's all past, and you can bring it up and say, yesterday you were really upset, or earlier today you were really upset and disappointed, and you made it through. You figured out something else to do. And I said, no, we couldn't watch TV or watch a video. And then I noticed you went outside and you got some balls out and you were kicking balls around. You figured out how to get through it. And just, notice it, acknowledge it, say, wow, some adults don't even know how to do that. That's a really good skill. So practice those disappointment muscles. We want to get those strengthened for kids and see it as a good thing, as a powerful skill that you're going to help them enter their life having that skill. So I hope that keeps you inspired when you really want to cave, because at times we really want to cave, or we get really, really harsh, and then that derails the whole system as well. We can't get to the adaptation if my parent is now yelling and shouting at me, and now I'm stuck. You're stuck in the anger denial stage with them as well. So we want to get all the way to the other side. And I'll end it with a quote. There's value in helping children chalk up another adaptation, knowing that each time they do, they're adding to the internal reservoir of confidence and resourcefulness that will help them navigate life's ups and downs. Hope you find this helpful. Bye, guys.